What is up, guys? Welcome back to Too Much Tech. In today's video, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I got a lot of gaming mice on the table right now. I got a ton of mice in at the end of August, and I just don't have the time to do dedicated reviews on all of these mice. But I do want to let you guys know which one's worth picking up, and quite frankly, all of them are worth picking up. They're all really good, and we're gonna talk about the differences of these mice and which one you should probably pick up for yourself. Starting with the mice that I've spent the most time with this month, I've been using the Pulsar X2 for the majority of August, not just because it's a new release and all that stuff, but honestly because I've just really been enjoying the full-size version of the X2. This one does weigh in at 57 grams. As soon as my scale will load, you'll see, boom, 57 grams. And then this right here is the X2 Mini, which of course is noticeably smaller in the hand. I can use the X2 Mini, but it's not as comfortable, of course, as the full-size X2, but that's because I have large hands, so naturally I would like this one a little bit more. The Mini, surprisingly enough, is not horribly lighter, like it's only a few grams, but it is definitely a little bit more usable if you have smaller hands. And personally, even with big hands, I can still use this mouse pretty well. Like, this is not nearly as uncomfortable as, for example, a Razer Viper Mini is for me. The Viper Mini for me is just way too small and it's not wide enough, and I feel like the X2 Mini really fixes that quite a bit. And I had the same issue actually with the final mice, both the medium size and the super small size. The width was really the main problem for me. Like, as long as my fingers can grab the middle of the mouse relatively comfortably and I can, use the side buttons, I am able to use this relatively comfortably. Now, of course, again, naturally, I do still like the bigger one, but if the X2 Mini had come out first, I still would have been fine using this, but just not for long-term use personally. If your hands were probably a few centimeters smaller than mine, more child size or whatever, you probably would enjoy the X2 Mini quite a bit more. But if you're pretty similar to my hand size, you probably will enjoy the X2 quite a bit. Moving on from the Pulsar X2, oh, by the way, these do use that new $33.95 sensor from Pixar that does also feature their new motion sync technology that also tracks your shot a lot better. But Optimum Tech has a much better video that I probably could ever do that fully explains how motion sync works. And the least that I could say about motion sync is that I definitely noticed that my aim is very consistent with the Pulsar X2. Now, is that fully attributed to the sensor alone? Probably not. I would say that it more so has to do with the shape, like the great clicks and the fantastic side buttons as well as the scroll wheel being really nice and very similar to the Logitech G Pro Superlight. This is definitely one of my favorite mice in terms of build quality, just the features that it has, USB Type-C at the front, and then also the DPI button on the bottom and the on-off switch. I've been putting a ton of time into the Pulsar X2, and I definitely feel like either size would do you just fine. Very safe shape and easy to recommend. Moving on from the X2, we have the Vaxee XE. So this one is the yellow color variant as well, and they do also have a ton of other colors available on their website too. Now, the Vaxee is going to be very similar to the Pulsar in terms of build quality. Major difference from the Vaxee mouse compared to everything else on this list is just the fact that it is indeed a wired mouse. So you do need the wire to even use this thing. Now, if you look at the end of the cable, you can definitely see that A, it's removable, which is quite nice, but B, it also has an angled stress relief. And more or less, using this mouse does feel pretty wireless as long as you have a mouse bungee. I don't really have any issues using the Vaxee XE at all. The clicks, very, very good. They're Huano clicks. The side buttons are great as well. And then you also do have this reprogrammable button at the top, which I genuinely wish that more mice would start to have at the top, because it's great, honestly, to have one extra button that's super easily accessible on your mouse that you can remap to an in-game function. Like, that is super handy, and it can also help you with your productivity outside of gaming as well. Now, the scroll wheel on the Vaxee definitely has very defined steps, but it is still smooth. More so is just the texture on the scroll wheel will probably distract you a little bit when you're looking at it, but in use, it's super grippy, and I never have any issues using the scroll wheel at all. And click wise, it is pretty stiff, so I would say that this is definitely a lot less spammable than the other mice on this list. It's probably the one thing that I would fix about the scroll wheel is not necessarily the smoothness when scrolling, but the actual way that you click in the button. It just feels a little bit more tactile than I would like it to be. I would like it to be a lot more spammable. Now, the skates on this are also pretty good as well. After you wear them down, after probably about 2-3 hours of gaming, you will notice that they are definitely a lot better than they are at first. Like, these are relatively smooth, but I will not say that they are as slippery as the skates on the Pulsar X2 or some of the other mice that we have on this list. list. Overall, the Vaxee XE definitely feels in the hand like it is an improved version of the shape of the Logitech G Pro wireless. And looking at the two, you can definitely tell that the Vaxee XE is very similar in the shape and dimensions of the mouse, but it also has what for some reason feels like slightly more palm support in the back of the mouse. I think that is because this area right here meets perfect contact with the back of my palm right here. So I feel like I have even more control, where compared to the Logitech, I feel like this tapers off just a little bit more steep and I only get minimal contact in this area, where compared to the Vaxee, I feel like I get a lot more contact since this edge right here is not rounded off nearly as harshly as it is on the Logitech. So having that extra point of contact definitely will make a huge improvement in your aim. If I had to give this mouse any criticism, I would definitely say that the one thing that this mouse needs is to be wireless. I could deal with the scroll wheel not being super spammable if it was wireless, but since they're inevitably, hopefully, gonna come out with a wireless version eventually, definitely 100% non-negotiable, fix the scroll wheel. Just kill both birds at one time, make the scroll wheel more spammable and make it wireless, and don't increase the price like a crazy amount. Like make it $100 to be competitive with everything else on this desk, because this mouse is $70. I think it's plus shipping too. $70 and it is still wired nowadays when you can get wireless mice for $70. So speaking of $70 wireless mice that don't use 3389 sensors like the Vaxee XE, but actually use the brand new 3395 like the other mice on this list, is the Fantech Aria. The easiest way that I can describe this mouse to you guys is just the fact that this mouse is basically a larger version of the Razer Orochi V2. And what's crazy about the Razer Orochi V2 is that you have to use like a lithium ion battery that you put in, and when it dies, you gotta literally swap the battery. Where the Aria has USB Type-C, you can literally just plug it in, and it's also lighter, 60 grams compared to 65 grams or more depending on if your battery is heavier or not with the Razer Orochi V2. Meanwhile, at the same time being larger than the Orochi V2 and being a bit more comfortable for me. Again, the Orochi V2, I was kind of disappointed because I thought that this mouse is going to be very similar to like a Logitech G305. The Orochi was definitely a different shape and it caught me off guard, especially concerning the size. I do see how this mouse could work well for some people, and I see the light even more so now that the Fantech Aria is available. This mouse being just a little bit bigger fits perfectly for me. Right here, I get a ton of palm support. Right here, my thumb rests perfectly. I really don't have any issues at all. And then this side is like perfectly crafted to have a solid grip. And I've just been using this mouse. I've had it in for about a week or so. I haven't had it as long as I've had these mice. But the Aria this week, I've just been putting a ton of time into using this mouse purely because of how fun it is to use. Now, it has a ton of very interesting features, like this mouse does feature Bluetooth functionality, so you can pair this to your PC or Mac and bring the mouse with you and leave your dongle at home so that you don't lose it. But inside the mouse, if you want to bring the dongle with you, there is storage for your dongle as well, so you can just go ahead and slot that in there, and then you won't lose the dongle to your Fantech Aria. So if you want maximum gaming performance and you know that you're going on the go, you want to bring your dongle with you for sure. But if you're just using it for office work, you're going to want to swap over to the Bluetooth technology. You will get a little bit longer battery life, but the polling rate won't be as high. So especially for gaming, your tracking is not going to be as accurate. But again, using the 3395 sensor, no issues to report. As far as the scroll wheel, it is very spammable. The clicks are super crispy as well, no issues with the side buttons. And build quality wise, the Fantech Aria, for not a first attempt, but a pretty interesting attempt from Fantech, entering the market at such a great price at just $70, the same price as the Vaxee XE. Granted, it's a different shape. This mouse is incredibly competitive, and I do think that this is a relatively safe shape to recommend to people that are playing really any kind of games. But if you play FPS games and you know that you like to grab your mouse aggressively, but you still want something that's comfortable and ergonomic and not massive, this could be a really great option for you. Last but not least, we do have the Lamzu Atlantis mouse. Now, this mouse is going to be very similar to the Pulsar X2 and the Endgame Gear XM1/XM2 wireless that will come out eventually, but I do think that this is an improvement to both mice in the sense that this is actually like a bigger version of the Pulsar X2/Endgame Gear XM1, and it's also a little bit taller right here in this rear area, so that makes it even more comfortable for me to use. I also put in a lot of time on this mouse before the Aria it showed up. But this mouse, the thing that impressed me the most, other than the fact that like I'd never ever heard of this company before, and they just randomly came out of nowhere, started hyping up this mouse on Twitter, seeing all these pictures and seeing this crazy bottom that, quite frankly, it looks cool, but the quality doesn't look that high. But surprisingly, I don't have any build quality issues with this mouse, like at all. Like obviously, like if you press on the like clicks, it'll actuate, but there's not like an area where you can like firmly press and like try to check for creaking and all that stuff without like actuating the clicks. Because the mouse 1 and 2 buttons on this mouse are pretty huge. Without trying to break the mouse, the quality is very, very good. I don't have any real issues with anything. All of the clicks on this mouse are very crispy, and you also have a very nice and spammable scroll wheel as well. USB Type-C, you do get glass gates in the box as well as PTFE that are installed normally, and the glass gates are very, very good. I would say that they are like nearly on par with Pulsar Super Glides, so there's not really a real reason for them to come out with Super Glides for this mouse if they're going to include them in the box. But that was honestly a really nice touch, and this mouse is also $100, so it is basically right in line with the price point of the Pulsar X2. Obviously, this just comes in a slightly more interesting colorway with a very Pulsar-esque mouse base, but you also do get like this very interesting transparent design. Honestly, it looks okay. It's a little strange. You never would have expected this, and it looks very cheap, but it is built incredibly well. Gameplay wise, I feel like the Lamzu Atlantis is definitely my favorite out of the bunch, just because the shape and the size just feels perfect to me. Like the XM1 was always one of my favorite mice. When I realized that just the hump in the back was not large enough to give me a lot of contact, very similar to what I said that was great with the Vaxee XE and also really good with the Pulsar X2 as well, the Lamzu Atlantis just takes to the next level. Now, weighing in at only 55 grams and having this incredible unboxing experience, guys, the packaging on this thing was absolutely elite. So they do give you a USB cable, of course, to charge it, this nice little velvet travel case, and then also a little booklet, and then the PTFE skates, as well as the glass skates that I already installed on the mouse. And the glass skates are a really nice addition. Hopefully they continue to include these and don't make them like a separate charge, because I think that for a new company, you probably got to offer like a little bit of a discount / incentive to try your product, just because you're still working on getting your brand out there and whatnot. So you want to give your customer something that's tangible and something that will also enhance their experience. And I definitely think that the packaging and the extra glass skates that are surprisingly good as well definitely do that for the Atlantis. So all of these mice are under $100. Most of them are either $89 or $90. But again, we had those couple of gems for $70. The Vaxee XE, if you don't mind having a wired mouse and you're looking for a better Logitech G Pro Superlight shape, and also the Fantech Aria, that mouse is also $70 for a wireless gaming mouse. Right now, most of these mice may be sold out, but they should be coming back in stock very soon. So definitely check out the affiliate links in the description below. Some of them will be affiliate links, some of them won't be, so that you guys can keep tabs on all these mice and their availability if you are looking for a specific one. But I hope that with the gameplay and all the b-roll that you guys are able to choose one gaming mouse out of this entire list that will suit your needs a lot better than what you're currently using. But if you've already found the end game, then I really don't blame you. Mice have been really good for the past couple of years. I'm just glad that we're getting even more options with more unique shapes. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoy, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel as well. And of course, feel free to check out all these mice link in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next video.
You have nothing left. Opponent revived. 1 minute left, my friend. Go down! A tie. I cannot believe. Let us fix this. Only one enemy is left.